Camera here. All right, sweet. Cool. Guys, welcome in. Today I am joined by Robert, who is a member of our community, someone who also watched a lot of my content online before he worked with us. So, Robert, excited to have you on, man. Obviously, this chat is to kind of show people where you're at now, what kind of journey
Mhm.
you've gone through, and heck, man, I think you'll be able to share some interesting insights and maybe some tips for people watching. So, Robert, how
Yeah,
would you introduce yourself? Where are you at this stage in business so far?
yeah, for sure. So yeah, my name's Robert. I'm 22, based in England, and yeah, I run an agency. Been running it for like maybe 2.5 to 3-ish years now. Agency as it stands does anywhere between sort of $10,000 to $12,000 a month in revenue. But yeah, sort of been in the space like for a little bit of time, kind of like Adam said, sort of watching content and not really doing much with that information until I kind of like bit the bullet and sort of invest in a few coaches, obviously Adam being one of them, and sort of propel me to kind of sign clients and actually dial in my offer, build systems, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's kind of like where it's at the moment.
Nice one. Nice. So you're officially at that six-figure mark. Well, you're actually past it, right? I think
Yeah,
it's 8.3K a month is roughly six figures per year.
yeah,
So yeah, you're nicely tucked above it, man. So congrats on that. It's obviously
yeah,
a massive milestone, probably one that
yeah,
you dreamt of for some time. I know most people do.
for sure.
Robert, how long does it take you to get your first clients? Let's say from like day one, you starting out and actually, let's say you starting as in taking it seriously, because
Mm,
as we just talked about off camera, before I started, I probably spent 6 or 12 months just watching videos on YouTube before I did
yeah,
anything. Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when I actually officially started, we scaled pretty fast, but that's because it was months and months of me just researching, but I was just
Mm.
wasting my time. I was just too scared to start. So yeah, for you, man, like when you did start, how long did it take for things to start actually clicking for you?
Yeah, so it actually took a while. It took a lot longer than I thought it would.
Mm,
'Cause I'd kind of not, that was prior to kind of investing in coaching consulting. So I was
mm-hmm.
trying to learn everything myself. So to get my first client, it took like 8 months of me just trying to like do it all on my own, just trying to like figure it out myself type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you sign your first client, like you kind of get that momentum. Like
Yeah.
even if you sign your first client for like a couple $100, like it's fine, I think, just
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get that initial win, and then you can kind of build it up from there. But yeah, like it was, yeah, just me trying to figure it out by myself. I know that if I kind of invested with coaching a lot sooner, it'd have probably fast tracked me because I'd have kind of been given the systems and the sort of processes that are proven to work.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I was really just trying to like, because I came from a marketing role, like in my previous job, I was sort of like arrogant in the mindset of like, I kind of know how this works. I've done
Mm-hmm.
like social media marketing for, this agency I've worked for previously. So I guess that kind of was to my detriment because it sort of made me think that I knew knew what I didn't, and I could have probably signed a client a lot quicker. But yeah, about 8 months, 8, 9 months.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, man. I'd say that's pretty standard, like you said, if you don't go and get help, it's not that it's not possible. It's still very, very possible. There's many people
Yeah.
that build businesses, right? And never invest in a coach or a mentor. Just that
Mm.
you're skipping a whole load of heartache. You're
Yeah.
skipping a whole lot of what the hell do I do versus
Yeah,
just pay someone. They'll tell you exactly what to do and
for
then
sure.
ask them questions and they'll give you continued guidance. So makes a whole lot of sense, man. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, scary thing to do, to actually find someone and then go, cool, I'm going to give that person my money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I think like obviously when I invest with you, like I'd seen the content on YouTube prior to
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So like, and I think also at that point, like, the business was doing okay. So like
Hmm.
the investment didn't feel like it was like too crazy. But like when you're just starting out, I completely understand like it's super scary to like invest, even a few $100s into like a coach or a consultant or a course. But it's gonna save you so much time. Like the time it's gonna buy back is just immeasurable. Like you're literally just kind of investing with someone who's done it. You've literally done everything you want to do. So I would definitely recommend doing that if you're starting out, if you have the funds
All
and
right.
you're able to. Yeah.
Definitely, man. Yeah, yeah. And Robert, where you're currently at, right? So between the 10 to 12K per month, how
Mm.
many clients do you have? And do all the clients pay the same amount? Or are we talking about, one client being on a big package and some being on smaller?
Yeah, that's a great point. So right now I'm probably at sort of like the 20-ish client mark. So
Hmm.
all my clients are relatively low ticket. That's by design. I had an agency who was doing it previously where clients are sort of paying a bit more. But what I find when I did that is I'd sign a client and basically I'd sign less clients because it's obviously a larger
Hmm.
investment to make. But they were also very much kind of on it with like how things were going, because obviously it was more money they were spending. And when one left, like you really felt the pinch of that. So yeah, I mean, if you like, it all sounds well and good, making 10K a month, you got like four clients paying you 2.5K. But if
Hmm.
one of those clients leave, then you got 25% of your revenue down from one client. If one of my clients leave, like it's a shame because I've got good relationships with all of them, but like it's not going to be the end of the world, because I can just sign another client at that sort of like $300-400 a month mark, right? So that's kind of how I've structured it. I think there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Like I know people who've done it the other way. But just for me, like it's just what's worked and what's kind of gotten me to where I'm at now.
Love it, man. Love it. I agree, Robert. It's the way I preach things as well. But for
Yeah.
people listening in for the first time, the points you mentioned there are so key. A
Mm.
lower ticket agency, it's one way of doing things. Both routes work. You can,
Yeah.
like you said, have four clients that get you to 10K a month, or you could have 20 clients get you to 10K a month. You're
Yeah.
just basically deciding how risk averse or how, I guess hungry for risk you are. And if you are
Yeah.
someone that would think, if I've got four clients
Mm.
pay me 10K a month, like if you're the kind of person that thinks that hit of one client leaving is a lot and that's going
Yeah.
to throw you off track, then you probably
Mm.
shouldn't do that approach, because that
Yeah.
will happen.
Exactly.
In fact, you might even have a month where you lose two or three clients. And that is a possibility. But like you said, I guess for you right now, if you lose three clients, which is like worst case scenario, you're still
Yeah.
at like 10K a month probably. So
Yeah. It's the only issue with like clients leaving these days is just like the relationship, because like I
mhm.
really try to like build really good relationships, because I'm very fortunate. I've had like a couple clients who've been with me since the start of 2022, and it's
Wow,
like
amazing.
2.5 years, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know how often that happens with clients that maybe pay you like 2-3K a month. Maybe it does, but yeah, for me, from like people I've spoken to in the space, like when you have high ticket offer, like the churn is so much higher. Whereas like I think, like you said in one of your YouTube videos, you just want to kind of have clients who are just paying you this money on like a subscription every single month without having to think about it, and that's kind of how I've tried to build it basically.
for sure, man. And I think a lot of that as well, Robert, it ties to the service you're providing, right? Which is
Yeah.
probably something that we've touched on before, right? So with
Mm.
your service right now, is it purely content creation, social media management, or is there any clients where you're doing some extra stuff as well?
Yeah, for sure. So the core offer now is social media management and like a bit of content creation.
Hmm.
So sort of like 3 posts a week, just kind of like managing their Instagram or whichever social media platform it is. The main reason clients work with us is one or two things. It's either just to save a bunch of time with them doing it themselves, or it's a bit of like a knowledge gap. They don't know how to do it, they don't know how to
Hmm.
use social media, or it's like a
Hmm.
combo of both. But yeah, these days it's like 3 posts a week is usually kind of the standard we sort of like start with. We sort of help them repurpose and like create their content. Because a lot of my clients are in the sort of like property space. There's not much in
Hmm.
the way of like creating stuff, because they have all the like creative assets. We just have to maybe like do some bits and bobs with them. And then we also do like a boosted Instagram post just to kind of get them more people to the page and sort of like get their like projects or get their content in front of more people basically. And we just kind of like package it together into this thing which we've now kind of systemized, which is quite nice. So
Nice, nice, man. And Robert, out of all the clients you've had, I know, like you mentioned there, you've had some clients stay with you literally like 2.5 years, which is right.
mm,
It's a testament. It shows that what you're doing, they actually want. They think it's
yeah,
fair for the price. But obviously, it shows you've done a real good job at setting good expectations. They're not, promised the world, and that you've set that clearly. But on
yeah,
the flip of that, you've obviously managed that relationship. You've had good communication. There's been that back
sure.
and forth. So
Yeah.
for people that are new to this, what do you think would be some of those things that stand out to you on that point of when you do get a client? Because you know yourself, same with me, it's a matter of time. You'll get a client if you stick with it. You just got to stay consistent enough.
Yeah.
How do you then keep them? Because a lot of people do struggle
Mm.
with this if they're not getting the right guidance.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes down to kind of what first is like what you're offering. Because like if I was just starting out and I was pricing something at like 2-3K a month, I'd feel like a lot of pressure to like make sure I'd like deliver and do like a million and one things which they're potentially looking to do. So I think it kind of comes down to like kind of what you're offering. Like if you're offering something a bit lower ticket, you might not feel the pressure kind of as much, because you still need to do a good service, but like it's a lot of money at the end of the day that someone's like trusting you with. But I think it's like you said, clear expectations. We have like a client dashboard with like a clear client expectation list, which we, encourage that they read before they start working with us. Which just sets out expectations from their end and also from our end in terms of like content approval dates and everything like that, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then it's just regular communication. If you're doing a 3 month contract with someone, like that first month is like a real kind of good sort of like month to like, hold their hand, really kind of like guide them through the whole like
Mm,
process and stuff like that. Over deliver on communication, like if things are going super well and like things are, on time and, if you're doing like social media management, if the page is growing, the engagement's good, then, communicate that, even if it might feel like they can kind of already see it themselves, like really try and make sure that you're actually like, communicating that with them, and also just kind of like being kind of looking at your client relationships kind of like, in some ways like a relationship with a friend. Like if they need to jump on a call, like I've done it before for clients WhatsApp me and, they're kind of got some questions. I literally just jump on a call with them right there and then.
mhm,
I feel like that's kind of how you like once you keep clients like beyond the year point, I think that's kind of really down to like the relationship you build with them.
mm.
It's like getting on with them on like a human level. And that's kind of only really done by like having good communication with them, setting clear expectations, and just sort of, yeah, just leaning into kind of your personality. Like, why should they do business with you rather than someone else? You kind of have to give that human element of it and show your personality. And I think that's kind of how you keep clients for a long time.
100%, man. I love that. I love that. I remember our first client, Robert, stayed with us for 20 months. We actually let them go.
Mm,
So similar to the situation you're in, where you've had clients actually beyond that point, right? You've had
yeah.
past the 24-month mark. And like we had to let them go because they just were very attached to having me and my business partner do the work specifically for them.
Right.
And at this stage, every other client was outsourced. We had our team in place, but they were the only one hanging on. So we had to
Mm,
actually just say to them, look, the way we're going, like you have to adapt to this or we'll have to drop it. And we
yeah.
dropped it. But that was very key, what you mentioned there, right? It was
Mm,
past the first few months, the results were there. They could see what we were doing. We communicated it all the time. And
yeah.
then it's almost as if they just probably never looked at that ever again. Because they're like,
Mm,
all right, these guys know what they're doing. They're getting me what I've paid for.
yeah.
Now it's just about, is it easy to work with them? Have they built something that's actually not a pain in the ass and I can just
Yeah.
couple of hours a month work with them and get it done? And
100.
that's kind of why they stayed, I think. Obviously the
Yeah.
relationship as well, just having that good communication, but really just making it easy for them. That was the biggest
Yeah.
thing, convenience. A lot of people skip over that in this space because a lot of people will say that what we talked about there, like managing a social media page or posting
Mm,
basic content is
yeah.
saturated, doesn't work, it's convenience offer, nobody's going
Yeah.
to buy it. But like we see it time and time again, then how
Yeah.
the hell are people like yourself, people like me being able to actually build a business doing those things? So I'd love to
Yeah.
get your thoughts on that specific topic. Like, why do you think people badmouth and kind of diss the whole content social media space so much, even though there's clearly so much money to be made in it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's just because it's not like I don't think it's like the most popular SMMA type service.
Mm,
I think people when they hear like SMMA, like rightly or wrongly, I guess everyone does to a point when they start out, but they kind of have like dollar signs in their eyes and they're just
mm,
trying to find the most expensive thing to offer.
yeah.
And I get it, like I get it, of course. Like if you want to make money or your situation's,
Hmm.
financially not great, whatever.
Hmm.
But I think it's just 'cause it's not talked about enough. Like everyone like starts a Facebook ad agency, me included. Like I
Hmm.
still have a couple of clients who we do some Facebook ads for from like, a few years ago. But I feel like it's just not spoken about enough. And I feel like as well, like SMA and anything which is online business based, it's very sort of susceptible to trends. So whatever's trending, it could
Hmm.
be like, TikTok agency or short form or, Shopify, CRO, whatever it could be, right? So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like social media, every business owner these days knows social media is important. And it's probably something that they just don't either have the time to do or they just don't really want to do. Like I've spoken to so many people and a few of which are clients who literally said straight out of the gate, social media isn't my thing. I don't like it. I'm a bit
Yeah.
kind of I've got a bit of a phobia around it. Just
Yeah.
like I don't deal with it. And that they're your perfect clients because they're the
Hmm.
people who are going to
Hmm.
be like happy to kind of let you do your thing. Like I've got two
Yeah.
clients who literally like don't even approve content anymore. We've been working with them for such a long time. They're just like, do your thing, we trust you. And those are like the best kind of clients to have because they'll stick around because they know it's important. And if you can be the best solution, save them the most time, then they're going to stay around. So it's definitely untapped. Like I think, yeah, especially when you're starting out, like to get that momentum and sign your first few clients at a few $100s, like just offer like something like social media management or creating content. Like, at the end of the day, if you don't want to, you don't even have to do it yourself, right? You can obviously try
Right.
and build a team or you can try and learn it yourself to start with. But yeah, I think it's definitely an untapped space purely because it's just not as high ticket. But
Definitely.
4 or 5 of these clients, and you don't have to work a full-time job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. It's not as sexy. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
the high ticket charge 2, 3K a month, run some ads for a business. It sounds good, man. Sounds good.
yeah,
Sign me up, show me the course. I'll buy it.
yeah.
So yeah, no, that's definitely a part of it, man, for sure. Another thing I wanted to touch on, Robert, because this is something we're seeing right now on the topic of trends, right, in this
Mhm.
space specifically. And if you're watching this video, let's say 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe this isn't currently happening, but it's time of recording this. What is very popular the last few months is a lot of people to say that you reaching out to a business with a cold DM, a cold email, a cold call, or even let's say they put up an Upwork job and you respond back to their job and send a proposal. There's a lot of people saying that that doesn't work, right? It's impossible. It's
Yeah.
again saturated, tapped out. There's no way it'll ever work, and
Mm.
it's gone. It's dead. A lot of people
Yeah.
are saying that a personal brand is the only way to do it, right? And that to me is always red flag number one because you're saying it's the only way when there's always many
Yeah.
ways. It's like how social media marketing is not the only way to make money. You could do 101 other things. It's just one really fucking good way. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
what has worked for you for getting clients? Because I know you don't have like a big, massive personal brand. It's not like you're posting 3 YouTube videos a week to get clients. So, how
Yeah.
exactly have you gotten at this stage 20 or so clients that are currently paying you?
Yeah, through all the methods that people say don't work. Through all the things like, like like my Instagram, my personal Instagram is pretty much dead to the world. My business Instagram has got like a couple thousand followers, but it's not got my face attached to it at all. It's just like client wins and stuff like that. Yeah, since day one, and again, this is kind of previously because I worked in like a marketing/sales role, so I had a bit of experience with like cold calling and stuff. But that's been my kind of method since day one is cold calling. I've probably done over 25,000 cold calls for my agency in terms of booking appointments and trying to get clients. Some cold email as well. But for me, it's like like pretty much all outreach methods will work unless you've got like a really bad script and it needs refining. It's just a case of doing a lot of it, right? Like I think people do like 100 cold calls or 100 cold emails and be like, it doesn't work. I need to build a personal brand or I need to try this. Like, no, you need to do this like 10 times what you're doing and
Yeah.
then try and see like if it's worked. And this is stuff which no one really wants to hear. And this
Hmm.
is stuff I definitely didn't want to hear when I was starting out. It's like
Yeah.
basically people like saying like you need to just do more of what you're doing. And but the great thing is like once you found a channel, like a client acquisition channel which works, could be cold call, it could be email, DM, um, and you just have to do it at volume, and that's how you scale. Like once you found something which
Yeah.
works, so you just have to find that one thing, and you can just ramp that up, hire VAs, do it yourself if you want to, like whatever it is. So yeah, I would say like if someone's struggling with like finding the thing to work for them, then literally just try one thing and do like 1,000, do like an unreasonable amount of like action on that one particular thing. And then look at the data if you've done like 1,000 cold calls or 1,000 cold emails, and then kind of be like, okay, I've got an X amount of replies or this many meetings booked. That's good or that's bad, and then can kind of make a decision. But yeah, I think following trends to try and like predict business success in the long term is just it's not going to work.
For sure. Definitely, man. Yeah, good to hear that. The funny one, just because it's such a hot topic. So
Yeah.
many people would fight us on that, fight us to the bone on it, man. And I think we'd come out and win. So go on, man. What is the next step for you, man? So you're at 20 clients. Again, like you
Yeah.
said, six-figure mark.
Mhm.
What comes next? And then when you get to that next point, is your goal to grow this as big as you possibly can? Or are you trying
Mhm.
to build like a certain level and then maybe automate it more? Like what's the end goal for you currently?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, right now it's really about team. So prior to joining Adam, I didn't really have much in the way of systems or
Hmm.
team. And that's one thing which you really helped me with, dial that in and kind of grow that and scale that. So right now we're just looking at kind of like buying my time back and sort of building out the
Hmm.
team, which is obviously going to help with scaling. In terms of revenue numbers, like yeah, I mean, 10 to 12 at the moment, it'd be nice to sort of be at like 15 to 20 consistently. Um, but I don't think I have like a number in mind.
Hmm.
I tried to kind of set goals that way, and the number would always like move depending on like
Hmm.
what I
Hmm.
thought would be the right thing. So I think for me, my philosophy is now is like I'm just going to keep doing it and growing it until there's something I feel I don't want to do, and
Hmm.
then pivot and then kind of change direction. But yeah, for now it's yeah something that I very much enjoy. So for me right now, it's just kind of yeah, looking to obviously sign as many clients as possible and build out the team and hopefully get like to, yeah, I think 20 would be the next sort of North Star. So 20 a month consistently is kind of the next step.
Love that, man. Love that. And do you think you'll stay in the UK, or do you have plans to travel, or what's on the agenda for you?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, I travel a fair bit, so I'm going away actually next week, to Stockholm, which is where I grew up for a couple of weeks. But yeah, we'll have to see. Have to see what the future holds. I'll be in the UK for the next year or so. That much I do know. But
Mhm.
yeah, never say never. So
That's it, man. That's the beauty of the game, eh? You can take it 6 months, year by year, just change the plans as you go. I like it.
exactly, 100%.
Solid, man. Right, Robert, for the beginners watching, what is the best piece of advice you can give them? You've already told a really interesting piece of advice, which is to pick an outreach method, focus on it. Like, don't just do 10 cold calls and give up. Like, focus on it, do it every day, do a lot of volume, track your numbers, optimize it. And then if the data is very, very, very clear that it is not
Yeah,
working, then of course it might make sense to change script, change the approach,
sure.
or do something different completely. You've also mentioned how, for you, it took time, right? You didn't just get a client in 1 week and smooth
Yeah.
sailing. So what would you say for that person that might have been in a similar situation to you? Maybe right now they're just watching content, just looking around the internet, seeing, cool, there's this opportunity, there's this. I really like the sound of this thing, but I don't know if it's going to work for me. What would be the advice you'd give that person that you think would be able to really take them from where they're at to maybe somewhere similar to yourself?
For sure. I think in terms of like picking something, like it's really a case just like pick one thing and just like don't deviate from that for like a good amount of time. At least 6 months. Like try something for 6 months minimum and like look at the data. But on that topic as well, like in terms of like time and stuff like that, it's just like probably the number one piece of advice is broaden your time horizons. And it's probably not something you want to hear. Like people all the time are just like, watching stuff about like how someone got to 10K a month in like 1 week or
Mhm.
how long, right? And it does happen, don't get me wrong. Like I know people who've gotten to that point in like a very quick period of time. But for me, it's taken a while. And like I don't think I'm the only one where it's taken that amount of time, right? I think
Mhm.
it's more common to take 2, 3 years than 2, 3 months in the space, right? So I definitely would say like expand your time horizons. I very much had the mindset when I started, like if I, it sounds very like cringy, but a lot of the time, like the cringy stuff is kind of the most effective. It's like if I
Yeah.
just don't quit, then I'm going to be okay. It's like the only way I can like completely mess this up is if I just stop trying full stop. So I just kind of had that sort of, mindset and kind of like always was like iterating and changing stuff, which might not have been working. But I would say definitely just expand your time horizons, realize it's probably going to take longer than you think. And also just don't compare to other people online. It's very tough when you've got like
Mm.
Instagram and YouTube and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of like you comparing yourself to like a millionaire, like
Mhm.
who's like 10 years your senior or something like that. It makes no sense. Like you're comparing your sort of start of your journey to someone who's maybe doing it for like 5, 10 years. So yeah, again, bit cringy, but only kind of compare it to yourself and kind of what you're doing. And if you can kind of see those like small incremental gains, then that's what's going to compound over the long run. So I guess that'd be my advice.
Amazing, man. I agree. I think that's great advice. Robert, if people want to connect with you, where would be the best place, man?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, feel free. You can connect me on Instagram. I don't know my handle off by heart, but it's just Robert Frisk underscore. But yeah, company's called Blue Flame Media. And it's just my Instagram, LinkedIn, Robert Frisk as well, if you want to connect on that. But yeah,
Nice. Nice, man. Cool. We can put some links in just in case you forget the username again so that people know exactly where to go. Awesome
cool,
stuff,
man.
man. Appreciate you coming on. And for everybody watching, if you did enjoy, please do let Robert know because he's just after giving me probably 25 minutes of his time to spit some knowledge. So do let him know.
Appreciate it. Thank you.